Hi, Karen. It's so great to see you. And I'm really excited for this one because this feels a little bit different than our other episodes.
I agree. And Katie, always wonderful to see you, even though we just said that to each other like 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And as always, you were the muse. Like we were like stuck creatively. Like, okay, what do we talk about? And you talking about why we're stuck was like, that's what the episode's about.
Yes. I also this is why we're such a good team, Karen. Like we really
It's
are
true.
like such amazing collaborators because like often it will be like you will say like, "Oh, well, I'm thinking about this thing." And I'm like, "Oh, that." And then you're like, "Yes, that." And then I'll do the same thing and then you're like, "Yes, that." And like it's just like I think sometimes we're really good translators for each other. I
I
appreciate that
agree.
about you.
Same. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, okay, so just to let you in, listeners, basically, we are in the season at the moment of recording multiple mini pods and doing a lot of them in advance. So right now, as we're recording this, it's like mid to late February. And this one is not coming out until, my goodness, today is March 20th. So okay, so
Mhm.
today in the recording world is February 20th. So it's quite a bit in advance. But we were trying to figure, we have this beautiful sheet that you have created, Karen, of all of these amazing ideas for podcast episodes. And like to fill you in, listeners, basically we were just kind of looking at each other like, what do we want to talk? I don't know. No. And I don't really think that we've had that before. And I think that I just was trying to talk it out. And I'm like, well, the reason why my mind is blank is because my mind is actually filled with things that are not necessarily public facing. Like they're, and yeah, that's, it's just stuff that I am not really going to be talking about on the podcast. And I think it's like, it's not all bad stuff. It's just that, like, it's private stuff. And I love what you say about like, we can have private lives. But I think that what I love also is the idea that we can have private lives that are truly just ours. They're not even like our partners or like they are maybe our closest friends don't know about them. Like, I don't think I knew that I could have a totally private life.
I totally know what you mean. Exactly. And I think it's hard for us because we share so very much here because we
Yes.
know so many of the people listening. And I just had somebody who doesn't know us say, listen to an episode and say, it's like eavesdropping on a friend's conversation. It's like, yes, that's exactly it. And there
Yeah.
are so many things that I feel like we both say that people are like, oh my God, I can't believe you just said that on a podcast. And it's like, yeah, well, that's our whole thing. Like, that's the whole point of us doing this and having a platform to do it is to talk about these things that we don't talk about enough in public. And yet we do both still have these categories of things that are like, nope, not for the podcast. And I think I don't know if I mentioned this fully on the pod before, but I had a conversation with somebody who was feeling contrite about not sharing the full details about a situation or like even obscuring details of a situation and was feeling really bad about it.
Hmm.
And my response was like, you were allowed to have a private life. You were allowed to have some things that are yours and just yours. And you don't have to make excuses for it. You don't have to be ashamed of it. You don't have to share it. And you can feel bad about not talking about it. Or you could just say, like, that's just mine. Like, I get to have some things that are just mine.
Yes. Oh, that is like really like nourishing word. Those are nourishing words to me, Karen. Like I just so appreciate your perspective on that because I mean, who's to say that we're supposed to tell everyone everything? Like I don't even think that's really what this is about. I think for me, there's something to be said for like when you're going through something, when you're actively in the middle of something. I mean, I think that you can always have a private life. Obviously, it doesn't matter if you're actively in the middle of it and you never want to tell anyone, that's great. But if like you think maybe someday I'll want to share this, like maybe someday I'll want to say something about this, and but you're in the middle of it, like it's okay to protect that. Like it's okay to really protect to whatever it is that you're going through or thinking about, and maybe to protect it forever, like in a lockbox of your own mind. And yeah, I think it's like I think there is something to be said for also like with your closest people in your life, closest friends, family, partner, whatever, thinking that like, oh, I'm being secretive or I'm being, like, and this is a really horrible example, but there is a difference between being secretive and and having a private life, in my opinion. I actually was talking to Tyler about this the other day, and this is an awful story. But when I was growing up in Michigan, I was part of this neighborhood that all of these kids were basically Eric's age, my brother's age, so like 3 years younger than me. And everyone like palled around with each other, played capture the flag. Everyone was out late, like whatever. The parents would, have, dinner parties and progressive dinners and murder mystery nights and whatever. Everything was just like, kind of Leave It to Beaver level, except that it wasn't. And one of the families, I won't say their names obviously, but there was one family with three boys. And one day, I remember my mom telling me, I was probably, oh gosh, I was probably maybe 12-ish. And she was like, these people are leaving our neighborhood and they're moving. And I was like, what? Like, we were just on a camping trip with them. Like, that's so sad. And she was like, well, it turns out that the father has an entirely different family.
Oh shit.
And yeah. And so apparently the dad had been going on business trips and he had like an actual like kids and everything, like a whole
Oh my
different
God.
family. Oh yeah. And so I mean it's devastating. So like that's not what I'm talking about in terms of having a private life, like to have a double life. I'm just, which is sad and I really hope they're all okay. I really, really do. Because there was, yeah, it just makes me think like what is the definition of everyone's definition obviously can be different. And for him that might have been what a private life meant. But um I don't know why I'm going down this weird
It's not about
trauma-filled rabbit hole. Yeah.
deception. It's, oh my God. Well, oh man, there's a lot there. Oh, I do
Yeah.
hope those people are all right. Damn it.
It's
That is
rough.
that
That's
is some
rough.
ABC after school special shit.
Yes.
Well, and I think we've had conversations about this too. Like, there's this image that we present to the world, and some of us are very protective of that image, even if that image does not reflect who we actually are.
Yep.
And that's also not what we're talking about. I think it's more about like you're saying, I love the word protect. You are protecting that part of you. You are protecting like that narrative, that story, whatever that is for you. And I know we've talked about too, some of the reasons you protect it is that you don't want to hear other people's shit.
Yep.
Everybody's got an opinion about shit. And there are some things that are like not up to you. It's like none of your business. And I don't care what you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some of that, having a private life, having your own stuff, like having things that are just uniquely yours, are because people are judgy as shit and you don't want it. You don't need it. No, thank you.
Yes. Yes. I love that. And it's like, I also think that like there's something to be said for like our culture right now with social media or whatever. Like if you're not sharing, if you're not having communal experiences about your most private matters, then like there's something wrong with you. Like that they're like if you are really private, then you must be lonely or you must have like, there must be something wrong. No, that is fucking bullshit. Like you can have a rich private life. You can have like right now, I'm in Ojai, like this town outside of Santa Barbara. I am by myself. Yes, I'm posting a little bit on Insta, not a little. I'm posting a lot on Instagram, but that I'm not saying the things that are actually going through my head. I'm having an entirely solo experience here and I'm loving it. I had a phone call with Tyler earlier today and I got upset. I was kind of like, ugh, and I didn't, there's nothing wrong with him. There's nothing wrong with us. Everything's fine. But I was like, I don't really want to talk to anyone. Like I was like, I want to have a private experience by myself in my own place. Like I just want it to be mine. I think it's okay to have things just be yours. Like it doesn't mean that you're lonely. It doesn't, unless you are lonely, but like it doesn't mean that like there's anything wrong with you to want to have something for just yourself.
And I think we're all in varying stages of figuring out what that looks like. And I'm just thinking of friends with kids, friends with partners who, I don't want to say needy, but I'm just thinking of people
Totally.
who like have different demands on their lives than you and I have, and how hard it is to have a private life, to have things that are just yours, and how important it is to find a way to carve that out. Like, what is something in your life that is just yours?
Yeah. Yes. And how healthy it is to have something that is just yours. It can truly be anything. It can be a hobby. It can be a, activity. It can be like I mean, really just fill in the blank. It's different for every single person. That's really interesting. Wow. It is also like, you're right, that people who have different, pressures on their time, pressures on their, like it might be hard to even think about how can I even carve out 5 minutes in a day? That's real for a lot of people.
Yeah, but you're all better off for it. Your partner, your kids, your friends, your relationships, all of your relationships are better if you have more of your own stuff.
100%. Oh, all right. Well, as always, we always uncover more than we thought we would. So,
Exactly.
but we're also still keeping it private. Yep. Like,
Yep.
still keeping our own stuff. All right. Well, thanks everybody. We hope you all have a good week. We will see you next week.